I've worked both executive protection and venue security where I'm most comfortable at to have worked for some of the larger names such as the Backstreet Boys, Beyonce, Ariana Grande, Dr. Dre, Eminem, 50 Cent. Named it, I guess, right now is a rough name to mention, P. Diddy, Whitney Houston for 17 years.
You're listening to The Soul Chronicles, the podcast navigating life and times in the sneaker industry, Hollywood, and corporate America.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Soul Chronicles, the podcast navigating life and times in the sports, sneakers, entertainment industries, and corporate America. I'm your co-host, Muhammad El Muhajir, along with...
Hey guys, it's Nikita Newell Hall. Introduce one of the giants in this entertainment industry. I mean that literally and figuratively. It's so wonderful. We were thinking about all the aspects of the entertainment industry, and we were just sort of also looking at the landscape of so much of what's happening in pop culture right now as it relates to entertainment. Mm-hmm. And it occurred to us that we never really hear from, in a very ethical, I will say, way, some of those people behind the scenes sort of holding it down, keeping celebrities safe, and also making sure that they have the right amount of interaction with their fans and that personal touch, but that it doesn't go too far. So celebrity protection, celebrity security, all of this is so intriguing, especially now as we're hearing so many celebrity security people on social media sharing all kind of personal information. It's become sort of the stage has sort of been set for you guys behind the scene. But, our podcast is not about all of that. We really are about the business of what's going on behind the scenes. And of course, we want some of that inside insight. So we couldn't think of a better person to have this conversation about how the world of celebrity protection works, how you got into this business, kind of what's going on right now, and what's the future of the business. Bob, first of all, I want to hear how you got started in this industry and sort of who are some of the people that you've worked with along the way.
Well, oddly enough, funny backstory is a 2-year plan into a 34th year career. I started and kind of cut my teeth working at the Fabulous Forum in Inglewood while playing ball and going to school. Every intention on doing security for a couple of years, and like any athlete, playing professional. Well, God had another plan in store. I hurt my knee, took it as far as semi-pro professional minor league, but while still doing security. So I eventually started running security at the Forum for a crowd management company in 1987. I ran the Forum through 2 back-to-back championships and multitude of events, which then propelled me into the opportunity to start working in the music industry from another side. And that parlayed into working with some other artists to where I became personal security, or as the technical term is executive protection, or in layman's term, bodyguard, for Whitney Houston for 17 years. I've worked both executive protection and venue security where I'm most comfortable at to have worked for some of the larger names such as the Backstreet Boys, Beyonce, Ariana Grande, Dr. Dre, Eminem, 50 Cent. Named it, I guess, right now is a rough name to mention, P. Diddy. And, been very blessed and very fortunate. God has truly shined down upon me. But I've been thriving in this industry and been working for some of the top artists in this industry for a long time. And, now I'm being able to pay it forward through my company and being able to provide opportunities for some of my guys and their families.
One thing, Bob, that you talked about that I want to hit on, actually, there's 2 things. One, how we can have a plan for our life. And I think it's so good to have a plan because we don't want to be out here just living willy-nilly. That's not cool.
Right.
I love the fact that you were open enough to when that one dream/plan sort of died, that you were able to still parlay what you'd been doing like as a side business into your main thing and make it so huge. How did your experience as an athlete sort of lend itself to executive protection?
When you're playing ball, you have to make a lot of adjustments, based on your competition or based on level of your counterparts' abilities. You might have to change and alter certain things that you do as an athlete to be able to control situations and such. So I feel like those type situations prepared me in terms of preparation. Doing this job, whether it's personal or venue security, of which we primarily focus on, at the end of the day, still it's planning, preparation, making adjustments, knowing your talent base, the artists you're working for. They have stalkers or, situations that you may contend with. Coming from Compton, I feel like that in itself was a plus for me because my awareness level is different of them that may have come from the Valley or Mayberry or, Hollywood or whatever the case may be. They don't see the situations or encounter some of the situations we did growing up in those neighborhoods, whether it be drive-bys or whatever else. But I feel like that helped prepare me, and it makes me a little more ahead of the game versus some of the other people that have not have had those type of experiences. For example, a lot of the work is what we call advancing. So you're doing stuff in advance of doing a show somewhere. So let's say if we're doing a show at the Forum, I advance, let them know these are some of the things that we need as it pertains to our show, and give them the particulars, give them what I have as what we call a security rider. It gives them a breakdown in detail so they know exactly what I expect as it pertains to us as a tour. And then coming in and then executing those plans and the early preparation, and then also building those relationships. And I pride myself and I tell my guys, I better not ever get any negative feedback. How we conduct ourselves and carry ourselves goes a long way. As you well know, working for Nike, working for the NBA, and coming from Compton, they have a certain perception, but you can come in and articulate and conduct yourself as if you came from a Ivy League school and grew up in Mayberry. So again, those areas and those situations, I feel separates us from a lot of other people. I think my father, God rest his soul, kind of pressed upon me the protection side of it. Whenever things happen in our city, in our neighborhood, my father would tell all the kids in my neighborhood to go run and go in my backyard, and he would make sure that everybody was safe. So I think I got it naturally from my father in terms of protection. I enjoy making sure people are safe, and it's not just the artist. The way I approach my job in terms of venue security, if I'm working for, say, Kid Cudi, which is one of my next projects, but we have multiple acts that we do, but my guys, and they all operate from this standpoint that every single person that's on the tour is our responsibility. It's not just Chris Brown. It's not just Kid Cudi or Avril Lavigne or Backstreet Boys or whatever. That's just part of it. Every single person, the truck drivers, the caterers, the stage hands, everybody is our responsibility. I'm not saying everybody has that same approach. For me and my guys, that's our approach, and overall safety and welfare is at the forefront. And that includes the general public that's coming to see the show. We want them to leave with a great experience and also get off the building and leave and get wherever they're going safely.
Yeah, I love that. And shout out to Mr. Fontenot. You mean a real one. That right there, they don't make them like that no more. There's something about how your reputation is so important, and that the guys better not let it get back to you that they've been inappropriate in any way. Now, I've been in a situation so many times, as has Muhammad, in celebrity company, and I want to know from you, how do you hear what's going on and hear what's being said, but at the same time not hear it? Like, I've been in some situations where people are talking, not to me, but I'm standing right there.
Right.
And sometimes the information they're sharing is serious, is juicy, is crazy, is whatever. And it's everything in me not to be like, for real? But obviously I'm there, but I'm not there.
Right.
And because so much of your world, and I'm sure you have heard and seen some stuff. How are you guys there, but not there?
I've always been a type person, just like if you shared a secret with me, it doesn't matter about celebrity or not. I'm the type person that you tell me something and say, Bob, please don't tell anybody. That goes nowhere with me. I've always been that way. My mother will tell you, I don't tell her anything inside as far as artists, because security, whether it's personal, venue, or whatever the case may be, but primarily executive or personal. You're in the car with them. You're in the elevator with them. You're taking them to eat. You're in the same hotels. And there's going to be things that are said, things that are going to be done in your presence. Now, in this day and age, we all know NDAs, non-disclosure. Okay, that's great. But for me, I got a built-in non-disclosure because I know that they entrust everything in my hands and their well-being, conversations, what they do that's good and what they do that's bad. That's not for me to share that information. So that kind of stuff I would never share with anybody. If I discuss something, it's already public knowledge. So then I'm not really stepping on anything, but my thing, I've turned down interviews. Rolling Stone magazine, Inside Edition, so on and so forth, wanted me to come on and do a segment on me based on Whitney Houston. I'm willing to talk about the profession, but I'm not going to talk about my client. Not only was she a client, but she was like family. I would never, even with her gone, uh, dishonor her in that manner. So it's either you're going to discuss the profession and talk to me about that, or it's nothing. And, so there's no money that you can offer me or none of that. But that also is the integrity of the individual. You got a lot of people out there that don't have the same integrity. They get mad if they get fired. Dude, you did something wrong, whether it's a man or a woman. But the thing is, at the end of the day, you have to maintain your integrity. To me, my name and my word is everything. So I'm not going to compromise that for no one. I'm not going to lower my standards just to, get some shine or, oh, Bob is this, that, and the third. You know what? Whatever that is, God bless me. And that's why I continue. I mean, we need to be humble. But again, like you said, you're placed in a level of trust because even though they didn't say don't repeat this, but they trust you enough to open up in front of you. So it's kind of like an unwritten rule that Nikita, whatever it is that you heard and you was privy to, I expect that to stay here because obviously this is not public knowledge. For me, I've always been a trustworthy person. And I've seen and witnessed a lot of things going even back to the forum, but that'll ride with me to the grave.
You mentioned something that I want to go back to about protecting Whitney. And I'm just curious for you, knowing how close you were. I've seen whenever I saw her in a picture, whether it was People Magazine or Essence or books, whatever, you were always the big guy in the background. I know from my own personal experience, having been good friends with celebrities who've passed, that in and of itself is hard. But talk about your process of just dealing with her, everything that happened, the way it happened, how she's portrayed in the media, and then not being here anymore, but you're still having to experience all the things people are saying, doing, because it's still, for better or for worse, is still in the news cycle to one degree or the next. How is that process for you?
When Whitney passed, I was actually at home. And during that time frame, constantly, you get something in the news and, be misinformation about something happening to her and so on and so forth. So at first, I got a little text from somebody. And I'm thinking, okay, here we go again. But then I start getting texts, and then I was watching the news, ABC News. I was in Palmdale at the time, and I saw a little thing at the bottom. And meanwhile, my phone is blowing up, and I'm thinking, oh my God, this just happened. So I went out to my car, which was parked in the driveway, and I went out there and I cried for like 2 hours. Excuse me. Because when you do executive protection, especially for a lengthy period, I mean, you almost become an extension of those people's family. Her father used to call me number 3 son. I was always savvy enough to realize that I'm still an employee, and on a bad day, she could fire me. She's still my boss. So I never got caught up in I was the number 3 son. But again, this lady swam in the pool for hours with my daughter on her back. So it's still rough because 17 years of my life was devoted to her and her family. And the public portrayal is not fair because you don't necessarily know both sides of any story. In this day and age, there's too much social media. I mean, somebody just sent me a clip of a guy that was out with Beyonce. I didn't do her last tour. That's a long story. But dude was flexing and posing for the camera and all this other stuff that guys that do what I do at the level we do that would never do. Because it's not about that. I mean, a guy that does executive protection at a high level, unfortunately, you're going to be in photos with the artist. Why? Because you're close proximity in the movements of the artist. Do we necessarily want to be in these shots? No, but it's part of the game. But you can't get caught up in the hype that, oh, there's a picture of you on People magazine. Dude, they don't want you on People magazine. You just happen to be standing next to the person that they do want.
Just in the shot.
That's just what, and I've always understood that. I don't think, oh, it's all about me and some shine and whatnot. I'm flattered, don't get me wrong, but I understand it is what it is. If someone were to ask me, out of all the people I work for and all the things you've done, what are you most proud of? I would say the Up in Smoke tour with Dr. Dre. Like, why? You work for Beyonce, you work for Backstreet Boys and Whitney Houston and so on and so, or Ariana Grande, whatever. I said, because nobody thought that tour would succeed. His own lawyers told me that they didn't think that tour would make it past 3 shows.
Wow.
Why?
No,
Why didn't
they didn't think so because of the gang elements. They were concerned with Death Row and all this other stuff. And as you know, I'm from Compton. So my thing was, hey, I'm going to do my due diligence. I went back to the neighborhood and I told them, hey, listen, Dr. Dre, I know y'all got issues with him, whatever, but I'm going to be out there. I said, so I need to make sure that every show, every building in the United States and Canada, if I'm there, we can't have any issues. And they told me, Bob, if you there, they ain't got to worry about nothing as long as you there. So I went and did as I stated, I did my due diligence. I went to some of the people that could be a potential problem for that tour. And, a lot of them guys were like family. We came up since second grade, first grade with a lot of these guys. So, if nothing else, it's like, well, my brother's out there, so I can't do nothing right now. So at the end of the tour, actually ended up being another tour with Eminem. Dre's attorney had said to me that they didn't think we'd get past Anaheim. We started in San Diego and we had 2 shows in Anaheim. And they said they thought that we'd get to Anaheim and the tour would cancel. And they gave me credit. Not that credit was necessary. I just felt that no one thought that it would be successful due to the gang element and the situation going on, the ongoing situation with Death Row at that time. And, I was able to put out some fires and make sure that those types of situations. I mean, this actually is the first time I've ever really even said anything about that other than a couple of close friends. But again, that's something that I felt like was my crowning jewel because no one thought it was possible. So.
That was such a major tour. And you know what? That's why Muhammada really is a driving force behind creating this podcast, Bob, because, when she came to me with this idea, I was like, don't nobody want to hear us sit up and talk about some celebrity we working with or athlete or whatever. And her whole thing was like, it's not really about that. What this is about is being able to share what you have done. Because if you just take it to the grave with you, then nobody will know. And what she meant by that was our family won't know, our friends, our kids, other people trying to come up in the industry won't even know like what's possible. Like some young dude coming up right now might hear your story. Shoot, he might be going out with, Lord knows who, at a celebrity. And feeling like, man, you know what? I might face some trouble. I might see whatever. And now he might have an idea like, oh, maybe there's some preemptive things I can do. The point being that if we don't tell our stories and if we don't celebrate our successes, I promise you, nobody else is going to do it. Right. So that's why we wanted to create this platform, particularly Muhammada. And when I thought about this conversation around celebrity protection, like there was nobody else I even thought about. I mean, we know other guys doing this work, but there's nobody else I wanted to talk to more so than you, obviously, because we're family, but also just because I believe that you are the absolute prototype for what this work should look like.
Well, I
So
appreciate you saying that. And Muhammad, kudos to you for even having the wherewithal to even try and do something like that. Because no, I agree. I think it's very important. And like they say, give those flowers while they're still alive. I mean, people have no idea how integral and how important the people behind the scenes are influential of the success of those that are on the court, on the field, on the screen. Because if they didn't have people to take care of a lot of situations behind the scenes, they may not be as successful as they are. And sometimes you have a large part in that success, or knowing that they have somebody that they can truly trust, that they can truly lean on in critical situations. As well as I do, athletes get caught up, chasing women in the industry or out in the public and not paying attention to people filming them while they're doing some things that might affect their public persona or public image. Being proactive and not reactive and trying to, prevent certain situations in advance before it happens again. That's a seasoned guy or gal in the industry that do this job, that see it, before it happens. I mean, prevention is everything, and that's in many ways. It's not just moving an artist from point A to point B and making sure nothing happens, but making sure nothing happens as far as their marketability or effect. And I tell people all the time, I mean, you're doing the job, you're protecting their pockets as well, because especially California, it's such a litigious state. Everything's a lawsuit in California, and a lot of times people don't understand that you're also protecting them when you're not doing something stupid that now gets you sued and the client you work for, and that negative, publicity that comes with it, because it's definitely coming. Oh, so and so, and what are they going to say? Whatever that artist's name is, their security threw a guy off the stage or whatnot. And again, could it have been circumvented? Did it have to happen? And that's what's the unfortunate part with a lot of the industry, I find, because you got a lot of different circumstances with some of the young hip hop people, just like, high school students dealing with drug situations that we didn't have to deal with when we were in high school. So now you got the industry and you're getting some of these young hip hop artists that are doing things vastly different. And you have to be able, in our industry, to be able to adapt and come at it and figure out ways of protecting those artists and protecting them against themselves. Because a lot of times the stuff they're doing themselves. They're doing damage to themselves. And unfortunately, you got too many yes men and yes women that will go along with the situation. You need a strong person to tell them when they're making mistakes and be able to explain to them why. I found over the years, anybody grown, you just can't tell them no. It's like you're a parent. You guys are parents. Sometimes you have to explain why it's no. Just like with an artist is grown. They don't want somebody to tell them, no, they can't do this. No, they shouldn't go there. And then you tell them why. You shouldn't go there. You shouldn't do this. She had a real good sense of humor, man. And it's funny that the public just didn't know that side of her. So a lot of times her and Bobby would come to LA for whatever. I was still staying in Compton at the time, and I'd meet them at the airport and take them to the hotel and, do what I do. And then, sometimes they would be goofing around with me like, oh my God. So Crips and Bloods and this, that, and the third. And they say this and do that. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, stop. First of all, y'all saying the wrong thing with the wrong sign. I said, you're going to get us messed up. I said, stop with that. First of all, we shouldn't even be doing this in the first place.
Stop playing.
Yeah, stop playing. I said, but just because it's just us right here, I'll play along. But when we move around, I don't want y'all saying nothing. I don't want you throwing up nothing because you're doing it wrong. And then they start laughing. And then, and again, it was just little things like that showed that they were just down to earth people. I mean, yeah, I'm an entertainer. Yeah, I'm this. But guess what? I grew up in East Orange, New Jersey, so they didn't grow up with a silver spoon in their mouth, just like I did. So there's other sides to people, other quirky stories. And she'd laugh and we'd laugh about whatever. One time there was an earthquake. We're at the Four Seasons. And I always open my door by 9 a.m. every day, like clockwork. So I got up, took my shower, get dressed. I go to open the door about 8:45. Her room is directly across from mine. She's standing in the doorway. So I look at her and she said, "Big dog, what time is my flight?" I start laughing. I said, "Why are you laughing?" I said, "Because you felt that earthquake, didn't you?" She was like, "Yes. When do I leave?" I was like, "Your flight is this." She said, "Call the travel agent and see if we can bump my flight up and make sure this, that, and the third." I was like, "Yes, ma'am." But I laughed the whole time. I'm
Because we
laughing.
used to.
Oh, man, what? And vice versa. One time she said to me, because she didn't really like LA off record. Well, it don't matter. On record, it doesn't matter. She didn't like LA like that. She didn't really like all the fake pretentious crap this, that, and the third. And she's like, "I don't know how you live here." I said, "First of all, boss, I live in Compton. Ain't none of that in Compton."
Right.
I said, "All of the people I deal with is down to earth and real. Ain't none of that Hollywood fakeness. Don't nobody care about how much money you make. Don't nobody care what kind of car you drive. None of that." I said, "So when I'm in this, it's business. And when it ain't business, I'm not in this." So I understand. I feel the same way you do. I don't like New York. You don't like LA. And I get out of there as quick as I can. I spent 5 months out there shooting the preacher's wife with you. 5 months too long in my book, but that's what it is. I'm used to the West Coast. The West Coast and the East Coast are vastly different in how we operate, things we say, things we do. She didn't really like LA like that. And the quicker she could get out of there, she did.
Right. And I mean, look, let me just say for sticking up for my city, LA is amazing in every way. It's all the randos that come here looking for a dream that make it weird. They're the weirdos making
Right.
our city weird,
And
not
they
us.
create a situation. They do.
Exactly.
See, again, I mean no disrespect by this, because you know what you know. So we knew Compton. We knew how we got down. Muhammad is in Brooklyn. Brooklyn people are a little different than other boroughs in New York. And it is what it is. You see things a little differently. You interpret life a little different. And for us, you know, like for example, people say, "Man, you don't get caught up in being around celebrities." No, I don't. And I've been around royalty on down.
Mhm.
Me working at the Forum, I felt like I should have paid to work that job. The Lakers was my favorite team. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was my favorite basketball player. And I don't know if you guys remember the Coca-Cola commercial where Mean Joe Green threw the little jersey to the boy and he was like, "Thanks, Mean Joe." That's how I
Yeah.
felt. That's how I felt
Right.
at 19, 20 years old. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar would come by and hit me on the shoulder. "All right, big fella." And I'm like, "All right, Cap, have a good game." And again, I feel like that little kid in the Coca-Cola commercial. Now here it is, my favorite basketball player. Y'all paying me to protect this dude on and off the court, and I get to watch the games too for free. I'm like, what? I'll do this
Yeah.
job for free.
Right.
And I loved it. And so, again, though, outside of Kareem and Magic, I never really got caught up in, oh, there go Prince, there go Michael Jackson. They're just people to me. They just make more money and have much more celebrity. But I never got caught up in that. And I think that's another thing that separates me in this industry, because I don't get caught up in the hype of working for Whitney, Beyonce, and so on and so forth. Because again, they're the client, and it's my job to make sure they're safe and everything that's related to them is safe. But outside of that, I leave that at the door. I don't get caught up in, if I'm in a picture. This social media stuff is mind boggling to me. I promise you, we were doing a show in Paris, and I think Parisians won the World Cup or whatever. Paris, France won the World Cup, and so it was a hype day. I'm standing there, and my phone just starts going off. The show is going on, and I'm like, I pull my phone out, man. I'm getting texts from all over the world. This thing called a shade room. I didn't know nothing. I had never even heard of the shade room, and there was a picture of me behind Beyonce's mom and First Lady Michelle Obama. And man, when I say this thing had like about 400,000 likes, all my nieces and my family blowing me up like, oh my God, Unc, you and this and you that. And I'm like, I'm looking at the stage, I'm looking at the time, and I'm like, this is like real time. Again, that show you how I'm not really caught up in that. I'm going, somebody posted this picture during the show, and they got 400,000 likes right now, and the show ain't even over. Oh my God. And so I text my family back, like, what the heck is the shade room? I don't even know what that is.
Mhm.
They're like, oh, I mean, you're trending like a champ right now, and I'm like, what? So again, if I was one of those that go, oh man, I'm buying, buying into my own whatever, that in itself could have been like me blowing up my mind, like, oh my God, I'm huge right now. No, I'm not. They only doing that because I'm by these two ladies.
I'm talking a little bit about your transition from being, personal security to having a security company. You mentioned a lot of qualities that I know are really key to who you are, but also to that has lend itself to like your longevity in the industry, such as your integrity, just the level of awareness you have, understanding your role that even however close they get to you, that you're still, an employee, so to speak. How have you been able to translate that to your staff? And I'm sure you worked with like many, many people and trained many, many people. How do you train them to kind of like have the same mindset as you? And how has that helped to grow your company?
That is an excellent question. So, saying go, I'm a firm believer that you lead by example. Now, I speak and I try to pour into all of my guys. Everybody that works for me is not like employees to me because I don't like to say, oh, he works for me or I'm his boss, none of that kind of stuff. People that know me know that I'm humble and that you guys are like family to me, and what we do is a part of family. So I don't like to use those terms loosely, and I don't. I tell my guys again, you lead by example. So we just recently finished doing a trilogy tour with Enrique, Ricky Martin, and Pitbull, and I went by to visit two of my guys. One of which is one of our newer guys. His name is Marcus. And the first thing I said as I got out of the car, they met me in my car, and I told Mitch, who was one of my leads, as I call them, one of my main leads, and I started in on Marcus. I said, "Hey, Marcus, if you don't learn nothing from me, you need to learn that you need to carry yourself and conduct yourself a certain way, just like when your mom would send you to somebody's house. Your mother would say, boy, don't you embarrass me. Make sure you be on your best behavior. Make sure you have your best manners in front of you, blah, 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 because I don't want you making me look bad." We all have been told that if you were raised properly and raised how most of us probably were. So I've always had that mindset that when I go into a building, I'm visiting somebody's home. It's not my house, but I want to treat it like it's my house. So therefore, I'm not going to come in here and disrupt and rock the apple cart. So a lot of times when I go into buildings, this ain't me saying this. This is people that say it back to me that, oh, Big Bob is going to be here today. I know we're going to have a great day. Oh, Bob is here. I know we ain't going to have any problem. Well, guess what? It took time and effort to show these people that this is how Bob conducts business. This is how Bob operates. This is how Bob runs a tour. So therefore, the younger guys or the people that come in, they see the response I get. They're like, man, every building we went to on this tour talked about how much they liked you, whether I was there or not. I said, you know why that is? I said, because you leave such a good taste in their mouth that all they will do is talk about how they look forward to working with you. And you send out the rider, you send out any information, they go, oh, great. We got Marcus, we got Mitch, we got Bernard, we got Sean Fontenot, so on and so forth. Those people know that they're going to have a good day. They know that if we have a problem, they're going to rectify it. I always try to operate on the side of fairness, and I tell my guys the same thing. Guess what? If you go in and the tour's causing a problem from the building, and you show them the respect and come in and put out the fire that they're having a problem with, they're going to show you so much more respect. Now, if the builder makes a mistake, You go back, you deal with the building, you put out the fire, but you follow the proper channels and proper protocol. You deal with the supervisors or the event managers, the people that are in position of authority, and don't go to their employees directly. You're having a problem with somebody you want to remove. Don't do it yourself. You go to the building. You showing consummate respect all the time, and they appreciate that. That way, when you come back, you can get anything you want. A lot of things I get done for artists, it's not because of the artist that's there. It's because of my connection and the respect I have from these buildings. They'll go, Bob, you know what? We don't typically do such and such, but for you. And sometimes I've had people tell me that, and I walk away like, oh, they're just saying that. And I've tested it. One time in Nashville, I needed our cars to be underneath because Whitney had a flight to catch. So I went to the head of security and I asked him. He said, Bob, no vehicles are going to be underneath, but because it's you, not because of her, I'm going to have your 2 cars down here. And I was like, okay. Now I'm in Nashville. We had all these heavy hitter country artists. I'm like, man, there's got to be a ton of cars down there. I went into the tunnel, wasn't 2 cars only. So I went back
Wow.
and I thanked him. He said, Bob, I always have appreciated when you come in our building, you always show us nothing but respect. My staff speaks highly of you. So whenever you ask for a favor from me, as long as it's not something too big, you'll get anything in my building. And I pride myself on that track record. Anywhere I go, it's very rare and I'm not saying I'm a saint. I'm not saying I'm perfect. People that know me know I got a short fuse, but I can always let somebody have it in a professional manner. And if I have to go there, they know that I had no other recourse. And that's why I feel me and my guys kind of separate ourselves from some of the other people, because I've heard horror story after horror story about how companies come in, how they talk down to their employees, how they treat them bad, and all that. And I would cringe. I remember one time I came to the forum and they were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe what went on with R. Kelly," which back then was one of our accounts. I said, "What?" I said, "Was there a problem with Nelson?" He said, "Oh no, Nelson was great. He was the only shining moment. Nelson worked for me." I said, "I don't care
Okay.
about any of that other stuff because I can't control it. But as far as security and anything related to security, that falls on us." I said, "Nope, that was the only thing that we enjoyed. Outside of that, everything else was horrible." I said,
Muhammad may not even remember this, but I want to mention this. It wasn't even we, it was Muhammad. I think you were throwing the event at Nike Town. It was the launch of something. I don't know if it was Presto or I don't
Was
know
this
what
LA?
the
What city? What city?
LA, Beverly Hills, Nike Town.
Okay, so the event we did there was American and Music Awards event for Nelly.
Oh, it was the American Music Awards, what?
Party for
"Was that
Nelly.
me?"
Oh, the Nelly party, yes, because Bob, we brought you to do the
Right,
security, and Muhammada, it was her event. She had spearheaded. I don't even think I was at Nike anymore. I think I had just come back to consult for that one thing, and
uh,
that was the craziest party ever. I mean, your team was so dope. And we had people like right back when Brittany and Justin was together, they were standing outside, couldn't get in. I mean, so many celebrities just outside, and the fire marshal was threatening to close us down. And you
right.
were just looking at them through the door, like, sorry, man, it's nothing I can do.
You know what?
So
It's funny you say that. It's funny you say that real quick. I know time is short, but real fast. I got into it with one of Dre's security, and he held such a grudge because I made him walk around from the back door to
in the
the
back
front door.
at our
And I
party,
was like, yeah, we had worked it out with the city to let only Dre come through the back door because of the neighbors, whatever, whatever. And once he came in and I closed the door, that was it. And so the one security cat went and parked their car. And he came back, knocked on the glass, and I'm like, man, come to the front. I'll meet you at the front. Oh, he went off. We talked about it years later. He held such a grudge and never knew the backstory until I explained it to him. And then he apologized to me because he was tripping for real. But anyway,
yeah, that's crazy. No, but you know what? Let me just say, I know how that can feel. Muhammad and I had an incident in the Hamptons where we were working with some colleagues throwing a Jordan party, and we were the ones making it hot, bringing all the talent, and they were doing something. and they wanted us to go around to the back door. And I was like, I wish I would. And these people didn't have no good reason like you. They was just raggedy. I was like, this is our thing. We're trying to make it hot for you. You want me to go through the back? I think me and Muhammad got our keys and left. We're like, we're just gonna go now. And we'll see you when the event
Sometimes
starts.
that happens. I mean, sometimes you get put in situations where you feel so disrespected. And my thing is, I ain't gonna never be somewhere where I don't feel wanted, ever.
Right. Of
There ain't
course.
no
Yeah.
event that hot that I want to be there if I feel like I'm being disrespected. I will dip in New York.
That Beverly Hills thing. Listen, we was a second from getting shut down, and it was the hottest party that Beverly Hills Nike Town has ever seen. Everybody and their mama was in there or trying to get in.
Oh, it was
So,
smoke. It was
so
smoke.
the fact
It was all the way around the corner.
no, it was crazy, but that was Muhammada's brainchild.
Bob, I know you talk so much about just like the integrity that you have, and I really appreciate that. And I know that's what's kept you in this industry, 30 years. But I'm like every day, just on social media, I'm hearing like these, ex security, just talking about such intimate details. I'm even embarrassed to hear it, from someone who was so close to someone. Just like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, how are they even able to do that? I'm like, are they don't have NDAs? Like, how is this happening?
Because I know
Well,
one good example. Let me just say this. One good example, and I'll just put it out there, is Diddy security. I know you
Yeah.
mentioned having worked with Diddy before, everything that's going on with Diddy right now. And
right.
certain security people are on social media every day. I mean, listen, let me just be real. Muhammad might be embarrassed to listen, but I'd be turning the volume up like, now what happened? How can they get away with sharing so much intimate information that oftentimes later proves to be 100% true
Right.
without worrying about their life and without worrying about being sued? Because they're still talking, so clearly they're not being sued.
I mean, I can only speculate. I mean, a lot of times in those situations, maybe someone dropped the ball in their management level and thought, oh, Nikita got the NDA signed. Oh no, Muhammad got the NDA signed. Meanwhile, nobody got the NDA signed. I've been privy to situations like that many a time where everybody thought I did a tour where they signed everybody. I never got approached. But my thing is, I got a built-in NDA, so I'm not going to say nothing whether it's on paper or not. But then again, like I said, I carry myself and conduct myself different than other people, and you guys know that as well. You guys have different levels of integrity versus some of your counterparts that are in the industry. They're not as humble or concerned about their own personal integrity. My thing is, nobody can ever say, oh, Bob did this and Bob said that. That's not going to happen. Just like with y'all. It's mind boggling that these people get away with it. And that's where sometimes look at, I'll give you an example. I got reached out to by a couple execs at Live Nation. And they asked me, Bob, can you send a couple guys out here to fix the problem? Had you reached out to Bob in the first place, there would have never been a problem.
Come on.
So there are those situations, and then you hire either homeboy security or whatever the case may be. You bring these guys in, they're chasing a check, and now their check is no longer happening. So I'm going to use what I have to come after that person. I'm going to join the lawsuit bandwagon because guess what? Those dudes have seen and been witness to stuff that could be detrimental to the client. But the problem is somebody didn't do their due diligence and didn't get an NDA on them, or they just not savvy enough to realize that you can be sued and be processed based on the fact that you are disclosing information that was private and you signed up and basically signed your life away as far as that's concerned. And that's supposed to go with you to the grave. You are not supposed to be able to publicly address anything related to the artist, anything related to their family, anything that you saw, anything that you heard, or anything you was privy to. But you don't have a lot of people with the same integrity in this industry. And a lot of artists make mistakes when they start hiring people and paying them, hiring somebody for less money. Like the old adage though, you get what you pay for. You get a reputable person, a reputable company that has never shown. You've never heard anything negative come out from anybody that worked with me in under Hedge of Protection. There might be other companies in the industry that can boast the same thing. But I've seen some of the other companies that do what I do and work for a lot of artists and boast about beating somebody up at a concert. Guess what? You just publicly said that you beat up somebody that your company can be sued for. And I mean, I can only speak for how I have operated and conducted myself and how I expect my people to operate and conduct themselves.
No, absolutely. That makes so much sense. Well, Bob, listen, this has been such an incredible conversation. Thank you for taking time out of your day to share with us some of your own life chronicles and experiences. We truly appreciate it.
Actually, this was quite therapeutic. I enjoyed this situation, and I'm sure there's a lot of other things you guys may want to address, and I would love to speak on. So whenever you need me again, just let me know and we can work it out. I have no problem. I actually really enjoyed this.
So, everybody, thank you for joining us on this episode of the Soul Chronicles, where we are talking about our life in the sneaker business, in the entertainment business, and in corporate America. This week, we had the pleasure of being joined by Big Bob Fontenot of Hedge of Protection Security. We want you to know you can listen to Soul Chronicles everywhere podcasts are found. That's Apple Music, that's Spotify, that's all the places. So until next time, on behalf of Muhammad Al-Mahajur, I'm Nikita Newell Hall, and this is the Soul Chronicles.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to The Soul Chronicles, the podcast navigating life and times in the sneaker industry, Hollywood, and corporate America. Be sure to join us for another exciting episode.